Hi, I'm John, a 38-year-old father of two amazing kids, Emma, who's 10, and Noah, who's 7. My life's been a mix of highs and lows, but they are my everything. I want to take you back to a time before things started to unravel. I was married to Linda, and in the beginning, everything felt like it was falling into place. We were happy, full of dreams for our future. Linda was vibrant, full of energy, and our life felt rich with promise. But over time, subtle shifts began to creep in. Linda seemed more distant, less involved in our family life. The small, seemingly insignificant arguments began to multiply, gradually turning into much bigger, more heated fights. One night, during one of those intense arguments, Linda said something that crushed me. She regretted our marriage. It hit me harder than I could have imagined. The words felt like a punch in the gut. After that, our fights became more frequent, more toxic. Linda wasn't happy, and no matter what I tried, nothing seemed to change that. Eventually, we made the decision to divorce, hoping it would bring peace to us and, most importantly, be better for Emma and Noah. But the divorce didn't ease the situation. Co-parenting with Linda turned into a nightmare. She became more distant, more unreliable. It was clear she had checked out, leaving me to do whatever I could to create a stable home for the kids. It wasn't easy, and there were days I felt like I was drowning. Emma and Noah deserved better, and I was determined to be the rock they could rely on. Thankfully, I wasn't alone. My parents were my lifeline, always ready to step in and support us, never wavering. And my friends? They were my compass through the storm, helping me stay on course when single parenthood felt overwhelming. On the other hand, Linda had moved on quickly. She found a new boyfriend and seemed even more removed from our children's lives. It hurt to see the disappointment in Emma's eyes as she tried to understand what was happening. "Dad, why doesn't Mom want to spend time with us anymore?" she asked me one evening, her voice breaking with sadness. "It's not your fault, sweetie," I said gently. "Mom's going through some things. But you have me, and we'll always stick together." I glanced at Noah, who sat quietly, absorbing every word. "Are we going to be okay, Dad?" I knelt down, looking him in the eyes. "Yes, buddy, we're going to be just fine. We're a team, remember?" Those words were my vow to them. No matter what happened, I would protect them. But nothing could have prepared me for the test that was just around the corner. It was during a business trip when everything came crashing down. I had reluctantly left Emma and Noah in Linda's care, despite my reservations. I called them every night, and things seemed fine, at least on the surface. But on the third night, as I was finishing up a meeting, my phone buzzed. It was Mrs. Thompson, our kind neighbor who always looked out for us. "John, I'm so sorry to bother you." Her voice was laced with concern. "But I just saw Emma and Noah outside your house. They're alone, and it's freezing." Panic gripped me. "What? How long have they been out there?" "Too long," she said, her voice trembling. I hung up and immediately tried calling Linda. No answer. My heart pounded as I dialed Child Protective Services, explaining the situation as quickly as I could. The minutes stretched into agonizing hours before I got confirmation that Emma and Noah were safe at my parents' house. Relief washed over me, but it was quickly replaced by a searing anger. How could Linda do this to them? I cut my trip short and rushed home, my mind racing with the need to confront her. When I walked into my parents' house, Emma ran into my arms, sobbing. "Dad, we were so cold." "Mom never came back," she cried, shaking as I held her tight. Noah stood by, silently clinging to my leg. "I'm so sorry, sweetie," I whispered. "You're safe now." The next day, I went straight to Linda's place, rage simmering just beneath the surface. She answered the door, looking irritated. "What are you doing here, John?" she asked flatly. "What am I doing here?" I exploded. "I trusted you to take care of our kids, and you left them outside in the freezing cold." She rolled her eyes. "I had plans. They were fine." "Fine?" I couldn't believe her indifference. "They could have been seriously hurt, Linda. This is unacceptable." She shrugged, utterly dismissive. "It's not like they were out there that long. Long enough for me to call CPS and have them taken to my parents' house." "You put them in danger." Her face remained emotionless. "They survived, didn't they?" I took a deep breath, struggling to control the fury burning inside me. This isn't about survival. It's about being a responsible parent. Clearly, you can't be trusted with that. I said, my voice low and controlled. Maybe you're right, she responded nonchalantly, barely meeting my eyes. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Her indifference was staggering. That was the moment I knew I had to act. I couldn't let Linda's negligence continue, not when Emma and Noah's well-being was at stake. I had to protect them, no matter what it took. After the incident, I knew I had to take legal action. This wasn't just about the hurt or the anger. It was about securing a safe, stable future for my kids. The first step was filing for full custody, along with a lawsuit for child neglect. I wasn't looking for a courtroom victory. I was fighting for my children's safety. I sat down with my lawyer, Karen, a sharp, compassionate woman who understood the weight of what I was going through. We need to gather as much evidence as possible, John. The more we can prove her negligence, the stronger our case. The next few weeks were grueling. Karen collected statements from neighbors, school records, and medical reports. I spent hours going over every instance of Linda's erratic behavior, each memory heavier than the last. It was painful, but I knew it was necessary. In court, Linda tried to play the victim. She stood there, pleading financial hardship, tears welling up in her eyes as she told the judge how her job changes and minimal income made it difficult to provide for the kids. Your Honor, I love my children, but I'm struggling. I need more support, she said, her voice wavering as she played for sympathy. I felt my blood boil, but Karen was ready. She rose confidently. Your Honor, while Linda claims financial difficulties, we have evidence that paints a very different picture. Karen and I had gone through Linda's bank statements, and what we found was infuriating. She had been using the child support money, meant for Emma and Noah, on luxurious outings with her boyfriend, spa days, extravagant dinners, expensive gifts. It was all there, in black and white. She's been spending the money on herself, not on the kids, I said to Karen, my voice tight with anger. Exactly, she replied, and we're going to present this in court. At the next hearing, Karen laid it all out, meticulously detailing Linda's reckless spending. The judge scanned through the documents while I watched Linda squirm uncomfortably in her seat. Miss Linda, can you explain these expenditures? The judge asked. She hesitated, fumbling for words before muttering. I needed to take care of myself. It was for my well-being. For your well-being? I couldn't hold back any longer. While our kids went without, you pampered yourself. Linda shot me a venomous glare. I did what I had to do. You neglected them. I snapped back. You left them out in the cold and misused the support I provided. The judge's voice cut through the tension. Enough. The evidence speaks for itself. We'll reconvene to finalize custody arrangements. Leaving the courtroom, a mix of anger and relief settled over me. Linda's true colors had been exposed for all to see, but more than that, I knew my kids were finally on the path to safety. Emma and Noah would never have to suffer because of her negligence again. While the custody battle pressed on, so did the criminal case for neglect. It was an exhausting, relentless process, but my resolve never wavered. With Karen by my side, we developed a strategy to make Linda's continuous disregard for our children impossible to ignore. John, we need to emphasize that this is a pattern, not an isolated event, Karen said one afternoon as we prepped for another session. It's not just about the night she left them out in the cold. It's about everything, her consistent failure to prioritize the kids' well-being. My parents were an unwavering source of strength throughout this ordeal. My mom especially stepped in to give Emma and Noah the love and stability they desperately needed during such a turbulent time. I'll never forget my dad's words one night as we sat at the kitchen table. Don't worry, son. We'll get through this together, he reassured me, his voice steady and full of quiet conviction. Finally, the day of the custody hearing arrived. I felt a blend of anxiety and determination. Karen was ready, armed with evidence that painted a crystal-clear picture of Linda's neglect. As the hearing began, the atmosphere in the courtroom was tense. Karen delivered a powerful opening statement. Your Honor, we are here to protect the best interests of Emma and Noah. The evidence will show a troubling pattern of neglect, and that funds meant for their care were misused for personal luxuries. The evidence was laid out methodically: bank statements, receipts, and testimonies, including that of Mrs. Thompson, who vividly recounted the night she found my children shivering outside in the freezing cold. She was gone for hours, Mrs. Thompson said, her voice filled with disbelief. I couldn't believe she'd leave them like that. Linda sat there, her face blank as the damning evidence piled up. She tried to defend herself. Her excuses were weak, unconvincing. Your Honor, I did my best with the resources I had, Linda said, but her words rang hollow. Then, in the middle of this intense battle, she made a move no one saw coming. After a private discussion with her lawyer, she returned to the courtroom with a shocking decision. I've decided to terminate my parental rights, Linda announced, her voice flat and devoid of emotion. The courtroom fell into a stunned silence. Even the judge looked at her in disbelief. Are you sure you understand what this means, Miss Linda? The judge asked, his tone cautious. Yes, Your Honor, she replied, her expression empty. I can't afford the legal fees, and it's clear this is the best course of action. The judge paused, taking in the gravity of her statement before responding. Very well, the court will process your request. I stood there, feeling a strange mix of relief and sadness. Linda's decision revealed everything. Her priorities, her unwillingness to fight for our children because it had become too costly. She had chosen money over them. After the hearing, I gathered Emma and Noah in a tight embrace. We're going to be okay, kids, I whispered, holding them close. We have each other, and that's all that matters. My parents were there, as always, offering their unwavering support. You did the right thing, John, my mom said, tears shining in her eyes. We're so proud of you. Linda's termination of her parental rights meant that Emma and Noah were finally free from her neglect. I was awarded full custody, a bittersweet victory. The relief of knowing they were safe was overwhelming, but the reality of their mother's abandonment left a deep sadness in its wake. Dad, does this mean we don't have to see Mom anymore? Emma asked, her voice small but filled with hope. I knelt down, looking into her eyes. That's right, sweetie, it's just us now, and we're going to be okay. Back home, I focused on building the life my children deserved. My parents were there every step of the way. My mom even moved in for a while to help us through the transition. We'll get through this together, John, she said one evening, offering a reassuring smile. The kids need all the love and stability we can give them. I worked hard to create a new normal for Emma and Noah. We set up routines that gave them a sense of security, family dinners, movie nights, trips to the park. Simple things, but they meant everything. One evening, as we sat around the dinner table, Noah looked up with a shy smile. Dad, I like it when we're all together like this. It feels like home. I smiled, feeling a warmth spread through my chest. Me too, buddy. This is how it's going to be from now on. My friends also stepped in to support us. Mike, my best friend, made a point to visit often, bringing laughter and a sense of normalcy back into our lives. Uncle Mike, can we play catch? Noah asked eagerly one afternoon. Of course, champ, Mike grinned, grabbing the glove. Moments like these made the hard days seem distant. As weeks turned into months, the shadows of our past slowly began to fade. Emma and Noah thrived in the stable, loving environment we had built. One night, as I tucked Emma into bed, she looked up at me with wide, serious eyes. Dad, are we really going to be okay? I sat beside her, brushing a strand of hair away from her face. Yes, Emma, we're going to be more than okay. We have each other, and that's all we need. She smiled softly, wrapping her arms around me. I love you, Dad. I love you too, sweetheart. Always. Looking back on our journey, I saw how far we had come. The toxic influence of Linda was behind us, and we were free to move forward, stronger and closer than ever. Our home was now filled with love, laughter, and a peace I had fought so hard to protect. This wasn't just a fresh start. It was a promise to my children that they would always be safe, loved, and cherished. Now a question for you. Do you think Linda's decision to terminate her parental rights was an act of selfishness or a way to protect her children from further instability? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this story, please like the video and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Your support means the world to us.